Welcome to Western Wisconsin Journal. I'm Bobby Pominville, and I'm your reporter on the arts. Today I am talking about vocal music with one of my friends. Andy Haase is here. Now, a lot of you know him from choral activities at the high school because he's the director of choral activities at Hudson High School. And I have to just compliment you on your 20 years of being at the high school, Andy.
Thank you. It's hard to believe 20 years I came to Hudson in 2001. So it's
That's right.
Time flies by when you're having fun.
And you know how I always tell the choirs, I was one of the first people to meet you.
That's true.
Because you were auditioning in the, well, I call it the old music room, kind of. And there was two of you. The other guy was very good too, but you know, when you came in and you started teaching two particular octavo pieces of music that had been chosen for you, and of course the other guy did the same thing. And I was like, you just had that extra gift of spirit and way of communicating. And you know what? I've watched you for 20 years now.
Right?
So just think. And I've sung with you so many times. Oh my goodness.
I always say that, you know, getting that offer at Hudson in 2001 and me accepting was the best decision other than marrying my wife.
Yes.
Greatest thing I ever did.
I totally agree with you. All right. Now, I do want to say you have a background of a BA from Luther College. Very impressive. You have your Master of Music, I should explain that a little bit, from Northern Arizona University. And I do believe you majored in conducting there.
Yep. So my undergraduate degree, of course, is Luther, and that's a Bachelor of Arts degree, music education.
Yes.
And then I taught for 4 years, and then after 4 years, 3 of which I taught here at Hudson. And
Right.
I got a 2-year sabbatical to leave the school district. And I went down to Northern Arizona in Flagstaff and completed a 2-year program to get my master's of music degree. And so the emphasis of that degree was in conducting and in choral literature.
Yes, and I have to say, when I have sung in your choirs and even with your concert choir, your chamber choir, we have done oratorios and different styles of music, but requiems, everything. And your conducting is very impressive to me.
Well, thank you. I try to be clear. I try to solicit specific sounds from my ensembles through my conducting gesture. I also tend to be a little bit of a big conductor. I'm certainly not in the box by any means. Some people think that's great. Some others might not so much. But you know, the music needs to inspire you, and the gesture also solicits that sound and encourages your singer, especially if you're dealing with perhaps like high school singers and maybe untrained high school singers. It certainly solicits a specific sound that you're asking them. Right.
And you think about conducting an orchestra, it's a lot different than vocal.
100%. You know, I've worked with many orchestras, of course, with the holiday concert and other collegiate and other professional orchestras as well. You know, and orchestra members sometimes get a little leery when they see, a choir director is coming in to conduct us. What's this going to be like?
Yes, it's true.
Sometimes think we're a little too flowery and too floaty. But again, I like to be specific and in my gesture to make sure that I'm getting the sound that I want out of that orchestra or the choir. And I certainly enjoy directing both ensembles.
Well, I have enjoyed it so much. Thank you so much for, you know, actually educating me on a lot of things. Although I come out with a music ed degree from St. Olaf, but I don't have the conducting skill as much as you do. So I really enjoy that. Okay, now we have a lot of questions.
You bet.
I am really interested in the answers myself. And I'm really hoping we educate our audience a bit. All right, so for number 1 is, what are the challenges teaching choir during the pandemic, and how have the students responded?
So how long is this program? So clearly...
Well, you can't go on forever.
Is that right? There are multiple challenges, clearly.
Yes.
We've all been affected by this pandemic in numerous ways. And of course, teaching our children has been one of those things. We have been very fortunate here at Hudson, where our administration sees the importance of the performing arts. And so since day one of school back in September, band, orchestra, and choir have been going on. So first and foremost, that is a positive thing for our community and our school district. I have too many colleagues and friends across the country where music was eliminated this year because of the pandemic and concerns associated with singing and playing and how those aerosols are transmitted. So yeah, how did we start off the school year? Kids came in, and rather than singing in our choir room, where we were, chair to chair, shoulder to shoulder, getting 120 some kids in a room, we had to space out as best as we could. Well, clearly the auditorium is the only space that made sense. Our auditorium seats 755 chairs, 755 seats in there. And we started off beginning of the school year spacing out all of the students from the very front row to the very back row in the upper balcony. So I could get 120 students in there from the very front row all the way to the back, spaced out tremendously. That was our first challenge. Let me go back to saying, I'll never forget that first rehearsal this fall. After the pandemic happened in March a year ago, and school stopped, and everything in the world just kind of came to a halt. That first rehearsal I had with my students, third hour with chamber choir in that auditorium, was glorious. It was soothing. It was comforting. It nourished my soul to hear people singing in real life experiences again, albeit we were very spaced out. And that presented its challenges. It was quite emotional for myself and for the students that certainly longed for that musical connection with our colleagues and peers as singers, and teacher-student relationship as well. So that was our first big challenge, was how do we do these rehearsals distanced? So here I am on stage, probably 25 feet away from the first row. And then you have singers all the way in the balcony, just trying to keep everyone together. You talk about conducting. It was a real challenge to keep everyone together. But they grew and they adapted, and they got better with every rehearsal. And I kept reminding them that we were lucky and fortunate to be able to have the opportunity to continue to sing and play.
That's a great explanation. And I wasn't even thinking of them sitting in the seats.
Yes.
I was thinking of them on the stage. Well, that would be way too small.
Yep. And of course, masked. Every student in the school district is masked. And even as singers, we wear a mask for safety reasons. And that was another issue, is here we are masked. And as singers, well, and everyone knows, when talking with someone with a mask, it's constraining. It muffles the sound. And so the kids were not used to how it sounded, and they had to retrain their ears in rehearsal for what they're listening for and how to produce sounds in order to do that safely and effectively.
I can't imagine. That's really a good explanation. Now, here's another part to the question. So how would you say that the pandemic has affected the performing arts in general?
Absolutely. Well, I think worldwide, I think we mentioned this before we started recording, is the performing arts. Well, let's face it, everyone's been affected by the pandemic, but I think as far as one job or one vocation, that these performing arts organizations have been affected, where they haven't been able to perform for audiences, they haven't been able to perform for themselves. It's been a real challenge, and I think as we hopefully slowly come back to some sort of normalcy this spring and through the summer and next year, that we can come back to these things. But it has really tremendously affected our ability to perform. You don't have church choirs going on right now. You don't have community choirs and professional choirs. We've seen an increase, well, not necessarily an increase, but the invention or the creation of the virtual choir, right? We're all very familiar now with these virtual choir experiences, where choirs and organizations found other ways to share their music and their gifts, and to do so distanced. Right here we are on a Zoom meeting doing this interview, and that's just what the world has adapted to, and so have musicians.
Yes.
Back in May, I did the same thing. I did my first virtual song with my chamber choir here at the high school, and we did our Lord Bless You, which is our signature song, where I had all of the different singers send in their videos, and we had to mesh them all together to make that song. It certainly provides its challenges, but it worked. And I think we saw more organizations doing that throughout the year. Yeah.
Right. Right. And I did have one experience at the FIPS where we recorded the festival chorus, but that was only 35 people. I can't imagine how you did your chamber choir. It sounds like a technological nightmare.
Well, I did my part, but I will say that John Ramstad here in Hudson, who
Right.
kind of pursued this project, he was great to work with, and he did all the really tough stuff. So it's people like John and others that really made this happen. And I think at one point he even said, with the River City Chorale Ensemble doing a virtual, I think he had said, "I think I'm done listening to this song now," just because you have to listen to it over and over again to make sure that everything syncs and lines up.
Yes, definitely. So you did have Home for the Holidays. That's one of your, I have to say, it's one of your best loved concerts because you do 4 days of it, four
Yes.
nights of it, I should say. But anyway, it was a bit different this year. Explain the process on that and how the students reacted.
So we did a virtual concert in that I hired an organization that came in and recorded us singing in the auditorium, spaced out, masked. And then they edited things and put things in together to create a virtual concert. Clearly, we couldn't sing for an audience. We couldn't sing for parents, for family members, for the community members. But we, and when I say we, I'm talking about Carrie Heisler, myself, and our students, we knew it was really important to share this gift of this holiday concert, that this would have been our 15th anniversary concert. It's been going on for 15 years. And so we knew we needed to get that message out. We needed to share this music and let people know that music has not stopped. The music is not silenced. It's just different this year. And so every choir had allotted times on a particular day in the fall where they came in. And each choir had their music prepared. They recorded it, and they did it a couple of takes until we got everything that we needed as far as visual and the audio. And of course, that's the other challenge, right? You're singing with a mask and trying to mesh all that sound together. I think the students were very leery of this process. They were happy to do something, but they knew what the holiday concert was, and they knew what it was not going to be this year. And so I'm not going to lie, they took it really hard. It was a tough pill to take, but they rose above it, and they performed extremely well. And when they saw that final product and they heard it, these kids cried. They were moved beyond my expectations that they were able to create a different kind of home for the holidays. And they were really thrilled to share that with their families and with our community.
Oh, I'm so glad it went on because I really had no idea how you could do it, but somehow you found the way.
Well, and it's you're recording individual choirs doing their own pieces as well, but we also had combined pieces because normally we do 5 combined pieces with all 400 high school kids and all the choirs and orchestra. And I wanted some element of that in real time. And what we ended up doing was cutting and splicing. So every choir kind of had a verse of some of these mass pieces that we did. And then we mixed them together to create that one full song. And our video editor and our sound engineer did a phenomenal job of making that work and happen and make it feel real. And like the music came to life and we were all together, even though we really weren't.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, excellent. Now, here's a heavy question, but I'm interested in it as well as other people, I'm sure. What is the future of choral music at Hudson High School? And can we expect a full concert in 2021?
Sure. Well, I am optimistic that choral music in the public school system will remain strong as it has in the past. Hudson has a great tradition of choral music, K-12. And that's a result of our dedicated teachers. And Bobby, you were a part of that in your time here as well.
Yes.
So I'm optimistic. I think we'll see a decrease probably in enrollment for a short period of time, and then hopefully we will see that trajectory go back up. But I think every organization, every performing organization will probably see that until we feel 100% comfortable and safe to be able to sing and play and perform with each other. At the same time, I think that our students, our community, that these kids are craving an opportunity to sing, to play, to perform. So I'm optimistic that things will continue to improve as we move along through this pandemic, and hopefully get back to some sort of normalcy next year. I got asked about a concert. So we had the virtual concert for our holiday concert. Our next performance actually is our Pops concert, which is Monday, March 29th. And we kind of just did the final plans for that today, that we will be recording it again for our community, but we will also be inviting in the parents of all of those choirs. So we have set up times for each choir throughout the course of one night, where the students will come in, and every student will be allotted 2 tickets. We still have to follow protocol in our auditorium. We can't just pack it in there. We have to make sure we have space and distance between all the audience members, no different than the gym and the sports that have been going on this fall and winter. So we'll open it up to all those parents to watch their children sing in a concert, and then of course record it and have that available to our community members and other family members that aren't able to come in person. So that's kind of the plan for our next performance. We're hopeful that in the spring that hopefully things continue to improve and maybe some restrictions are eased a little bit, and we can get a few more people into that auditorium.
Right. So are you saying the singers will be on the stage?
Yep. So we're going to have the singers on stage. And when I say that, it's not going to look the same way, where it's, again, shoulder to shoulder on risers. We will be utilizing all of the space on stage. We'll be utilizing risers and platforms, and going all the way from the back of the stage all the way down almost close to that front row, where students are spaced out safely, but yet can hear each other, and they can sing and feel confident. Mm-hmm. I think this will be a good thing. The kids are very excited about this opportunity to be able to perform. First of all, for real people, for their family members, for the parent to come in and listen to them. We're also going to do that week of the 29th, during the school day, we're going to invite each choir to come in and listen to the other choirs, so that we have an opportunity to share our gifts with the other choirs, something we haven't been able to do this year, which is very important. So we're looking forward to that.
Yes, I just love it. I think it's wonderful. Now, I know you're very close-mouthed about what the music is going to be. I mean, sometimes you don't even tell us what it's going to be.
Sure.
And so I know that from River City Chorale. But what I want to know is, can you give us a little preview?
Absolutely. So this Pops concert will be fun. It'll be lighthearted. Typically, we do Broadway medleys. I know that Belcanto is going to do a medley from Moana, from Disney's Moana. Chantus is doing a medley from a popular musical, Dear Evan Hansen. Concert choir is doing some music by the Beatles. And some other tunes. Chamber choir is going to sing a medley from one of my personal favorite musicals, Into the Woods. And we're going to do a medley from that show. Raider choir is doing music from Cars, Disney's The Cars, and also doing Step in Time from Mary Poppins. So it'll be a lot of fun. I think our parents and community, whether they watch in person or online, are really going to enjoy it. But you know what? The real entertainment comes from just seeing these kids perform. So regardless of the music, I think we'll just celebrate the fact that these kids are singing.
That's wonderful. And everything you mentioned, I have to say that musicals are one of my favorite things to do, even with the elementary kids. I did so many. I did about 6 or 7 a year, because I would let every grade level do now this is a mini musical. Yep. I mean, it wasn't the full thing.
But it's still a lot of work.
A lot of work. And Into the Woods, to me, would be one of the more difficult ones.
It is. It's music by Stephen Sondheim.
Yes.
It's very angular. It's not very melodic, but it has a great story. I did the musical here in Hudson back in 2004, quite a few years ago. But I really love the music. It's been a challenge for the kids, and I think they've really enjoyed performing it as well. It's a show that's not done all that often just because it is difficult.
Yeah.
So it'll be fun to share that music with everyone.
Yes, I think it's you definitely. I know it's so much more difficult for the singers to do some of these pieces, and like you said, angular, and it's a challenge, and that's what they like, and I know you like that too, and you're so good at getting this out of the children. I shouldn't say the children, but I'm going back to elementary now. Getting out of your students what you need for a good performance.
Well, thank
motivating
you.
them.
It's a pleasure. I have a lot of fun most of the time. The kids work hard, and let me tell you, I don't know how many emails and cards and notes I've received from students this year who just said that with the uncertainty of learning, going from 100% to hybrid to distance learning and back and forth, and all the changes we've had to endure this year at the school district, these kids have said that music has been one of their saving graces. It's the one class that's consistent, the one class that provides some stability for them, and that they look forward to it every day. And so for me, that's a big responsibility, and I need to make sure that I'm taking care of those students musically and supporting them in any way I can.
Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking of the audience too. I mean, we've gone through a really tough, more than a year now, and the music you've selected and so on is going to be so good for us to hear, for the people who are coming to hear, not just the parents, but the rest of us that thrive on music in the community too. I mean, and you've chosen like an upbeat theme, and I do think we all need it right now.
Absolutely. I think for anyone that hasn't experienced singing or a performance since this pandemic started, I think that first concert you go to, whether it be a band, orchestra, choir, whatever, I think when you sit in that chair and all of a sudden you hear that music, it will envelop you. And I think it will be a real life-changing moment. And hopefully for the better too, right? For positive and better things to come.
That's what we need. It's more positive these days, but yet we need that extra thing, that music.
Yes, we do.
We need to tap into that. Okay, now what about the River City Chorale Community Choir or the ensemble? We could even talk about that.
Absolutely.
But we've been on hiatus for so long, and could you give us an update on that group and
Absolutely.
what's going on?
Just like the high school, the River City Chorale, the large chorale, and also the ensemble singers have not sung together since, the chorale hasn't sung together since Christmas of 2019. Mm-hmm. And the ensemble hasn't been together since March of 2020. And so it's been a long time. The ensemble did a virtual choir experience earlier this year, which was great to see their faces and sing again. It was fun, a little more challenging with the large chorale just because of the sheer number of the size of that group. We are hopeful that we will be able to get together soon. I'm in the process right now of the ensemble singers. We'll be starting up rehearsals in the next few weeks. We are securing a location that will allow us to spread out and be distanced and spaced out with a mask, of course. We'll be limiting our length of our rehearsal. Music will be given to the singers in advance. Practice tracks will be given to those singers so that we're not really, plunking out notes when we get there, but when we arrive and we're singing together, that we can just make music. And my hope is that we can do a few of these rehearsals this spring and provide a virtual concert, similar to what the high school did for their holiday concert.
Okay.
And then we need to move forward. The summer, who knows what it will bring. That's typically the beginning of the new season of the chorale. And usually we have 160 people crammed in at the Presbyterian Church. Probably won't happen that way this year, but we will have musical events for that organization somehow, whether it be small groups, another location outside, but we will find a way to sing because those people need it. They need to feed their soul, and that music needs to be heard again. And so we will find a way somehow. I am really hopeful that by December of next year, of 2021, that hopefully we're able to present our first in-house concert.
Right. Now, that number, like 160, I know we hardly fit into the band shell.
Correct.
And even on the stage.
Yep.
And then we would go to various churches, and I remember that was a challenge.
Yes. And again, it may not be where we're singing normally, like on a stage, shoulder to shoulder. We may be spread out in a church or in an auditorium somewhere, or outdoors where we can be spaced, distance safely, and singing and rehearsing that way. I think the number one goal I have is to bring the singers back first for themselves to sing as a group in a community, and then let's figure out concerts and then how we move forward after that.
Yeah. Okay, that's good to hear, because I think that group has seen over 10 years now, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
over 10 years.
I think we hit our anniversary, and then all of a sudden the bottom dropped out. So that's too bad. But anyway, we have a little extra time. So I'm just wondering what else you would like to talk about to our audience. Is there something else we could maybe add to this conversation?
Sure. Going to performances, not just choir, band is also performing again now. The high school band will be doing a concert coming up next week. It's going to be in-house just for their students. And then they are hopeful for an outdoor performance later this spring. Likewise, the high school orchestra will be hopefully performing for parents and family members only later this spring. Right. We are in the talks of a musical event. Usually we do a fall musical, where you've got 50 kids on stage, a full pit orchestra, and a really big production. Well, we didn't do that this year. And there's certainly an interest to do that. We will continue this spring in April. Actually, I believe it's April 22nd, 23rd. I have to check those dates, but we'll do it's going to be a night on Broadway. And it will be a kind of a musical cabaret, a musical review. It won't look like your normal musical, but it's another opportunity for our students to perform. And that will be open, of course, to parents, perhaps community members, depending on where we are in April. But of course, will be recorded as well for our community. So we're trying to find ways for the kids and our singers to perform, and also to get that information, that concert, that music out to our community members as well.
Right. And now I've seen some information on band instruments, how they've covered the mouthpiece or whatever.
Exactly. So as a singer, we create more aerosols than singing, or than speaking, excuse me. And so we wear masks that keeps those aerosols in. Similarly, if you're blowing into an instrument, a wind instrument, you've got those aerosols going into your instrument, and then they are leaving the instrument. And so the band program here, and of course all over the place, they have covers for the bells of instruments for like trombones and trumpets. They have covers for the flutes, for clarinets, and also wearing a mask that's covering most of their face, except for where they need to put that instrument into their mouth. So again, doing all that we can do to lessen and to mitigate possible transmission.
So that April date, would that be sort of the final concert?
Nope. So we have our Pops concert on March 29th.
Yes.
April 22nd and 23rd, I believe, is that night on Broadway. And then the choirs will have their spring concert, their final concert of the year. And that is, I believe, May 29th. I think it's Wednesday, May 29th.
Okay.
And that will be our final concert of the year with all the choirs. We're hoping by then we're back to some normalcy where all the choirs can perform kind of sequential without spacing things out. And we hope that we can ease up the restrictions in the auditorium as well, and hopefully invite more people. But again, that's all determined by what's going on within our community with COVID, and of course, district policies and rules, so on and so forth. But we're hopeful that by the spring, we can ease up just a little bit.
Yes, I'm hoping that too. One more question about the Pops concert. I saw the time of 6 p.m. Is that correct, or is it going to be divided between the audience?
Correct. So what we're going to be doing is for that Pops concert, it's going to be in groups. So starting at 6 p.m., and we're going to be grouping the choirs into 3 or 4 chunks of choirs. So I believe, for example, like concert choir would start at 6 o'clock with their parents. And then concert choir would leave, their parents would leave, and then the next group would come in at 6:45. So we're trying to space it out so that we don't have so many people in one area. But again, allowing all those parents of those kids to come in. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's going to be quite different. But
Yes,
I think you've worked it out well.
And I think, you know what, we're not going to make everyone happy. I know that families would love to have all of their family be there to support their children. We're unable to do that and to accommodate that safely. So I hopefully families will be okay with the fact of, sending one or two representatives from their family and then the others just watching online. And let me tell you, River Channel has done a tremendous job of supporting what we do and getting our message and our concerts out there. We really appreciate you, Bobby, but we appreciate Nate and all the other team there
Yes,
that record.
definitely.
And, we're just really fortunate to have this be a part of our community, and it's a strong part of our community.
Yes, and this particular interview will show the month of March and a
Okay.
little bit into April. So everything you're talking about is something, well, it's coming up pretty soon for the Pops concert, but then the other dates, we can have those in our minds. And of course, the students get more information and the parents of the students, but you can always find the information.
Yep, we'll always have that
Online,
information online at the school website, but numerous places, you bet. We'll get the word out.
Yeah, and I've always enjoyed interviewing you about various things because we've done so many performances together.
Yes, we have.
And various things. And just a little side question, not terribly important, but are the teachers vaccinated?
I don't know what the percentage is. I know that there certainly are quite a few staff members that have been vaccinated. I myself received 2 doses a couple of weeks ago, so I was one of the fortunate ones.
Yes.
I can't speak for the whole school district and where we're at,
No.
but hopefully as more vaccines become available, and now that the Johnson & Johnson vaccine is out there, we can get more people vaccinated and back to some kind of normal.
Because I think it's important that the teachers are vaccinated.
Absolutely. I mean, you know what? We've been on the front lines, a different kind of front lines, obviously, than our medical support people in our community. But it's been I'm not gonna lie, it's been a really tough year for teachers. And they have done a tremendous job of trying to keep some sort of normalcy in the classroom, whether it be a student online, a student in person. But hats off to all of our students and our support staff as well in our school district.
I want to thank you so much for this. Got lined up probably in a week, and it was just a delight to hear that you wanted to come on and share about your upcoming events and everything else. So anyway, I know you'll be coming back.
Absolutely.
So thank you so much for all you do to bring that joy of music and that love of music to all of us.
Thank you,
really
Bobby. I really appreciate
it, Andy.
Thank you.
All right, so take care now. I hope to hear then the Pops concert next.
Thanks.